Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Waste Less, Build More, Automating Spool Workflows Across Teams. This session is proudly brought to you by Graitec. My name is Clemens, and I'll be your moderator for today. Before we begin, just a quick housekeeping items. You can always view upcoming webinars, events, and training opportunities by visiting our calendar at isti.com/calendar. Feel free to check it and share it with your team. We'd love your input. On the right side of your screen, you'll see a short poll. Please take a moment to answer. It helps us so much to understand how we can best support you and your business. Today's sessions highlight MSUITE, a powerful solution for automating spool workflows. Don't forget to explore MSUITE's capabilities along with our tailored trainings and services. You can get started by scanning the QR code on your screen right now. And remember that we encourage you to ask questions. You can submit your questions in the live chat at any time during the session, and our speaker will answer them at the end of today's presentation. So now let's get to the main events. We're very excited to welcome today's featured speaker, Gabe Hernandez. Gabe is an implementation consultant, fabrication at Graitec, specializing in MEP and architectural products. Today, Gabe will guide us through how to waste less and build more by automating spool workflows across teams using MSUITE. Enabling better collaboration, reducing manual effort, and increasing efficiency throughout the project lifecycle. Gabe, thank you so much for joining us, and I hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Let me switch here. So bear with me for a second. Let's see. Share my screen just to make sure I'm on the right screen here.
Okay. Awesome.
All right. Thank you. All right. Great. Let me get this started then. There we go. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. Perfect.
You
All
can
right.
go
So
ahead.
let's get. Thank you. So let's get started. Again, this webinar, as mentioned, will be covering how to reduce waste and build more using streamline workflow or using tools to streamline our workflows. And today I'll be using the MSUITE's BIM tools. A little bit about MSUITE's. MSUITE's is a partner of Graitec, and we've been working together for over the last year to help bring comprehensive solutions to the fabrication industry, filling in the gaps in our workflows to automate tasks that reduce errors, optimize, and boost collaboration across the entire project. Okay, so again, what I'll be covering today is how to automate spooling in your fabrication models. Currently in Revit, spooling is a manual process. It can be done, but it's error prone, of course, and time consuming. And with MSUITE's BIM Pro, users can generate spools quickly, modify and manage packages, sheets, PDFs, and MAJs. All right, so let's go ahead and get in and take a look. Let me start here. All right, I'm going to start with the duct work, and then we'll move into the pipe work, right? So again, let me pull down my my ribbon panel here. So we've got some tools that are available. We've got a spool manager here that again helps you manage the creation of your spools, your sheets, your PDFs, etc., as well as MAJs. And then we have some tools here to create actual spools. One tip about this is really neat. Is the tooltip actually has the how-to at the bottom there. So if you hover over these buttons and these commands, they'll give you some explanation on how the product works. So if you're evaluating this, you can actually run through the picks and clicks pretty easily. But like I said, once you go through some basic setup, it's very simple to use. And we'll get into that here in a second. I can create spools. I can break up spools. So again, if you've started a little early or if things and criteria changes on you, you should be able to break those spools up, start over if you need to, right? Add and remove parts. We also have the capabilities to merge spools together. So when you use some of these automated processes, like up here at the top, I kind of skip over this real quick and go to there's a command here called auto spool pipe. This is kind of like a one-click button. You click and you window everything, hit the button, and it runs through and generates all your spools for you. So when you use, and same thing for duct, when you use those commands, and it creates a spool that maybe is not necessarily what your criteria is or what your needs are requiring. You can merge couple of spools together. I could also divide spools up, so I can break them up. And there's a couple of different methods for doing this, but you can take a spool that maybe has 10 parts per spool and you're doing 5 parts per spool, maybe break that up into 2, right? So you have the ability to do that. And then, of course, with color coding, right now I've got everything in black and white, but I'm able to color my spools by color. I can do them by service, right? And then I can strip the colors if I want to just temporarily do that, just to keep track of everything. And then, of course, there's a really cool tool here to show what has been spooled and what has not been spooled into view. And I'll try to demonstrate that for you guys, so you guys see what the differences are. But it can help in a very large project to kind of examine and evaluate kind of where you are, where you're standing at that point, and
Gabe,
what needs to be done. Yes, ma'am.
I think we can't see your screen anymore.
Oh, it went away. Let me go
Yeah,
back here.
it went away.
That's all right. Let me go back here. Let's see.
Okay, perfect.
Window. Sorry, it might have been when I switched over from the PowerPoint.
I think it is, yes. Okay, yeah, it's here.
There it goes. All right,
Back.
perfect.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I appreciate that. I would have been rambling on forever. Again, just to kind of quickly go over what I was talking about here, I've got my Manage Spools tool. Right here's the Create Spools command and the Breakup command for breaking up spools. Again, to start over if necessary. I've got Merge and I've got Divide Spools. Here's the color coding tools, right, where I can add colors to spools, color services. I can strip the colors, and then of course I can show what's been spooled in a view and what hasn't. So again, kind of pick up where I've left off, the day before prior. As I roll, I kind of do these counterclockwise. As I roll up here, there is a command here for generating spool maps. This is pretty a neat trick or neat tool for you guys to use and learn, so that you can generate those spool maps to kind of give a really nice looking view or sheet to the shop, so they can kind of see where everything is kind of being put together. There also is a converter here, convert spools, and what this allows you to do is to take spools that were generated in and the other solutions for spooling, like Fabrication, CAD-MEP, or Siskiyou, and convert those into BIM Pro spools. So this tool will allow you to take an existing project, or maybe if you're moving from CAD-MEP and moving into Revit, or from Siskiyou into Revit and MSUITEs, you'll be able to convert what's existing into the BIM Pro world here with this command. And then these two are the automated commands here. I've got the spool each duct, which will allow me to do a window and spool every duct in my selection or per view. I can auto spool pipe. Again, also by selection, it's pretty quick and easy. And then I have a setup here, which is what we're going to start with. So let me just go in and start with some basic spools. And then what I'll do is I'll come back and I'll start to use all these other commands and show you kind of how they all work together. Let me put this back up here. All right. So first thing is, one thing to take note of is when you make a selection, right? Say I want to pick these 3 pieces of ductwork. I can select on the objects or the parts, the ITMs within the model, and I have what we call a contextual tab, right? And the contextual tab is the MEP fabrication ductwork, and in the panel for BIM Pro, you have the capability of generating spools by selection. So you select it first, which is really a common theme in Revit, where it requires you to pick things first and then use the command. So I can create, or I can take something there and break it up. I have a command called here select all alike, which I'll show you an example of what we would use this for. And then manage spools, I can go to the manager. And then another opportunity for automation in Revit is the item number command here, right? So natively out of the box, Revit does not provide number sequencing or numbering of your ITM parts without a third-party application, right? Or some type of plugin, right? So built into this, I can run item numbers if I needed to for all this to start with. So I could have, if I wanted to, I could have just windowed all this, and then I have that contextual tab to control or to run all these commands, right? So back to the quick spooling of the duct work. Let me just show you real quick. It's pretty simple. You just make your selection, create spool. I'll get into the naming conventions here in a little bit, how that works and where we have some customization here, but I'll just go ahead and do buffer that with the 0 there. So That's it. Pretty quick, right? And when I go to pipe work, same thing. I can come in here and make a selection. I'll select these pipes here, pick on the command, uh, make sure and confirm the naming convention or the name, right? Say okay, and pretty quickly create and generate my spools. And then what it's going to look like is in the spool manager here. You'll see when I'm in the view, basically it's WYSIWYG, right? What you see is what you get. So I'm in a view with just one spool. So that's all I see on my screen here, right? I have this one spool. We'll talk about packages here in a bit and the ribbon in the spool manager in depth here in a little bit. But basically, once I create or generate the spool like that, all I have to do is click on build. And then I have these options here. Now, this again will take some setup, right? So there's some general options here for title blocks. So if you guys have your own title block, you can certainly use that in this case. And also, like I'm putting our company brand on this, so I put in my company logo here. You can choose what title blocks you want to use, and then I can go to custom title blocks. So when you first install the software and when you set up a project in with MSUITEs, you you set up the project in Project Manager, and then under Utilities, you load in all of the families and parameters into that project. Once that's all done, then you'll see all of your cut sheets here, your out of the box or with MSUITEs at least, these custom title blocks that you can take advantage of. I've got some other ones in here as well that are mine, but these custom ones are typical of what you would want to start with at least, and then kind of customize from there, right? Or like I said, use your own. You can load new title blocks here with the browse. You can also set title block parameters. So you have your source and then your target on the title block itself, and you can kind of set those up correctly again and reset it if it's not actually working. I have the viewport options, right? So how many views do I want on this spool sheet? I have an isometric option, which is pretty awesome. And one of the cool things about MSUITEs as well is that it allows you to dimension isometric views, which is not very common out there in the industry. So you'd have to have some help with those. But with MSUITEs, it does it automatically. I'm not going to do an elevation view. I'm going to do a floor plan view or a plan view. Again, you have the option for placement where you want this, center, left, right. The default orientation for like the isometric southeast. And the best part of this too is that you can assign a view template, right? So view templates, if you guys create a look and feel for your spools, most companies that I work with like everything just black and white, spool colors in the model so that they can see what's been spooled really easily. But when they go to produce the sheets, you may want everything just in black and white, right? Maybe a color coded logo, and that's about it. And then you have like tags and dimensions. So for the ISO, I'm going to use dimensions, and for the plan view, I'm going to use tags. I can do continuation tags, size tags, north arrows, and column dimensions if I had a floor plan in here, which I don't, but you can also add those additional. Now, what tags do you want to use, right? So what you have your set of tag rules here. You have the tags that you can customize, add your continuation tags, your leaders, elbows, leader gaps, those types of things. And if it's numeric, alphabetical, or unique numbering, you have some options for the joint tags. Under dimensions, you have a set of rules here that you can use to dimension what dimensions are going to be placed on the spool. So I've got my straights being dimensioned, and again, you can customize the dimension type. So if you use a specific style, you can do that there. You've got duct offsets, duct taps, those types of things that you can choose from, and then schedules, right? So when I'm doing pipe here, I can do a cut list, a joint tracker, and the bill of materials. You have options for it, where they're going to be placed. You can also do separate similar items or group similar items alphabetically or by size. And then you have templates here also to choose from if needed. So if you can produce a particular type of schedule, right? But once you've gone and set this up, it's basically a set it and forget it. I'll save and run here. And what that's going to do is that's going to go ahead and generate this pipe spool on a sheet for me. There we go. And once that's done, you'll see there's an icon here that shows you the sheet has been created, and I can open the sheet. Now, there are packages that can be assigned to this. And this is a part of project setup. And let me show you the sheet real quick, the quick example, so we can kind of backtrack here and then kind of show you the other things. But here's my schedule, right? Things are stacked because of the text, but I can stretch these out for my connectors. And get it all single line like this. I got my cut list, my bill of materials, and depending on, whether I had joints on this or not, that's why my joint tracking schedule hasn't showed up. But there's my logo right there, right? Again, I can, make the adjustment if needed in my settings. And then if these need to be moved around, you could also make adjustments to the views, just like any other spool sheet. And then I print it out and I'm good to go, right? So that's my pipe spool example. I can do a duct one here real quick. Let me go to manage spools. Let's see, is this one going to show all? No, let me go to my duct view here. And in the duct view, I actually get to see both. But here's my supply air, right? I'm going to run the build command here so I can build it under my spool sheets panel. Say yes. And again, once you have these settings already set up, I can go to bottom left, bottom right, center, adjust this, maybe bottom left. Let's see if that makes that logo move over a little bit so I don't have to worry about adjusting it. I think it's going to put it over the actual title block information, but that's all right, just as an example. So you can kind of move these things around. Center might have been better. Bottom center. And then once that's built and successful, I should see the icon here under Sheets. When I click on it, I'll close this out. Yeah, there you go. See, so maybe I can adjust my title block so that I can, I don't have to put my image, all the way over there on the left-hand side. But you've got your views, and these are all custom scales here. So if I wanted to, not that direction, change the scale of these views, right? I can adjust the scale if I need to. Let me go back up a little bit here. Say 16, maybe 18, right? I can make those adjustments here like that, okay? And then here's my bill of materials, right? Shows all my information within that spool as well. So that, again, speeds up the process pretty quick. Now, let's talk about speed here and quick, how these things are created quickly. Let me disassemble these or break these up. These are Revit assemblies, so just like the manual process, you use assemblies in here, but you don't have to manually place views and schedules and all that stuff. Make sure your check boxes are all checked correctly so that you're only producing or scheduling what's on the sheet itself, right? All this is done for you automatically when utilizing the command. So another option here, let me go into this duct command here, or the duct view, I'm sorry. And I want to run the automated commands up here, the what we call spool each duct. But before I do that, what I'm going to use over here under my data tools is that select all alike. Okay. Now, also, if I pick on a piece of fabrication part, that's also here in the contextual tab, select all alike, right? So what this command does is allows me to create a rule, and I created it already, but I created a round duct rule so I can turn off all my round duct. But this rule, you give it a name, and then you say, look within this column here for the different types of information you can, or data that you can choose from: properties, parameters, I did dimensions, custom data or fabrication parts properties, even whole categories. And what I did was I said if the ITM dimensions equal to these ITM diameter dimensions, right, which is basically all the round stuff in here, with some exceptions. Some of these tap diameters are for my radius duct. But yes, so once I set all those up, what I can do is then save and run this command, the select all alike. It selects all my round duct in the view, and I can just turn those off so I don't have to spool those, right? Now I've got my rectangular duct strictly shown in the view, and now I can run my command to use the spool each duct. Once I do this, it's pretty straightforward. You window select and then finish it out. And this is pretty quick. I mean, this is a lot of spools done at once, and that was pretty lightning fast, right? So again, one of the huge benefits to MSUITE spooling tools is that the speed of this, right? And you could also, I can combine things. Say I've got two separate spools here. I can grab both those pieces and go back to my BIM Pro tools, and here's where I would merge spools, right? It gives you the option when you select multiple spools to merge. It gives you the option to choose which one do you want to keep. Do I want to keep the 101 or the 106? I'll say keep 101, and now it's SA 101, right? Supply air. And then like other things too, like I want these two pieces to merge. You could also do them one at a time, so I can click on the merge command here, pick on the this tap. Oops, let me rotate this and so you can see it, and finish this out. And then at least the secondary spool must be selected to merge. So I would pick the second one up. Let me do it the other way. So I guess this one, there's a couple of different selection options here, but I'll just go ahead and just do them both together. And then again, you get to choose which one. I'll just keep 12. And I've merged those spools. So again, you can go through this and fix things, merge spools. Maybe there's too many single pieces. That's kind of the whole point, is the single duct for this command, right? And then to produce these spools out, let me go back here. I'll go to the spool manager. So back to the spool manager, and what you're seeing here in this package column is, say, for instance, we call them packages. You may call them prefab packages, but you'll see we can assign these to the actual spools. So real quick, let me just kind of go get out of this and show you under the properties here. Project Manager, this is where you assign your information or where you set up these packages. So here's my webinar, and then I'll set the package to be like my supply air, level 1 area B supply of air package here. And I can say update elements within the package. The packages, again, when you add them, you have workflow, delivery instructions. The workflow is plumbing here, but again, that's something I'll need to fix on the website for my Fab Pro or for the shop stuff. But say it's like a sign off, I get budgeted hours, you have an address and then a due date as well that you can assign. Same thing with the job number or the job details, you can kind of add here to those details. It's pretty straightforward, but once you set that up first, right, then I can say assign all these packages to these elements. It'll update. And when I go back to my managed spools, you'll see that all these supply air spools have been updated to this package. Okay. Now the numbering is out of sequence here, right? So I'm at 76. And maybe I want to change other things about the numbering schemes when I do a spool, right? You have tools up here. Notice now when I select on the actual spools, most if not all my buttons now light up in the ribbon. I have my spool data that I can update and modify. Here's my spool sheet where I can re-annotate, I can rebuild it, I can open them and export these spool sheets out to PDF format. I can make my selection. This visibility and graphic and view will allow me to review these spools that are actually created in the model. So I can isolate them for review. I can create a section box around them. Ghosting them highlights them, but increases transparency. So it looks like they're transparent, and I can retain that if I want to. The uploading is where you would upload these spools to the shop component, right? So I can upload these to the MSUITE server and take those into a job under the Fab Pro side. So it kind of goes from BIM Pro to Fab Pro in that sequence. And then I have my exporter for MAJ and my Fab data. Once it goes into the Fab component, I can pull spool data back directly into these spools as well, like completion, percentage of completion, workflows, due dates, statuses, etc. Right? So it interacts with the shop as well. So that's also good. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and rename by selection. And then I can give it a new name here, right? So I can, again, maybe I'm doing this by area. So I'll say like level 1, area B, supply air. And then I want to start this from like 0, 1. right? So I can give it a custom name if needed, and I'll go ahead and select on OK. Finish that out. And you'll see that now I've updated the names here, right? From 1, 2, 3 all the way down to 72, okay? And then of course I could build these out, but I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the pipe here next. So that's my, that's the spooling with duct work. Now I can go to my pipe here and do the same thing with this automated tool. This tool right here is called Auto Spool Pipe. So when I select on it, you get some options here, which are very cool. Let me move these out. Let me stretch it out. I think that's all I'm going to get. So you can do this by service, right? So I can do one at a time. And then I have my naming conventions that I can choose here. Spool length, minimums and maximums, pipe diameter minimums and maximums. I've got direction, max, length after direction. I can do break at flanges, spool olets, valves, and equipment. And then I have spool weight maximums and elevation maximums as well. Down here at the bottom, I have the ability to, when I do set like a length, maximum length for spools, when it comes across something either shorter or longer, what does it do? Exclude the pipe. Do you want it to take the entire pipe or split the pipe up at a specified length? And that's in decimal feet, and you can type that in here. And then, of course, there's some other options here to place in a joint between pipes, couplings or joints, and then creating single element spools from fittings and accessories, and then create spool sheets for created spools. So there's some check boxes in here. If the weight or elevations for any spools elements cannot be found, this clause will be ignored for that spool. So you can check those check boxes if needed. Now I'm just going to go ahead and accept and create here. Once I have my services checked here, and you'll see again 167 spools. Normally we don't demonstrate this kind of stuff in a webinar or live, but you know, again, it's so fast that it does this so quick. The one duct spool was super fast. This one's doing each service separately. So we're almost there. Again, that was pretty quick. And then again, you know, you have the ability to fix things, right? So like this pipe was like 20 and change. I don't know if you can barely see that there, but it's 20 and change, so it exceeded the maximum length. But easily enough, you know, how do I fix this spool? I wanted to add it to this spool 004, right? Pick on that spool, pick on that pipe with the control key to select, and then just hit the create spool button up here, and it will combine them or add them together so that it's now one spool. And then, you know, I can go around and fix things like over here. I have two spools in here, right? And I want this to be a single spool and this to be a single spool. So this is where I can divide spools, right? I go to divide, select on this here. I can select what I want and then remove what I don't want. Oops. Let me do that again. So select it all. Remove. I'll leave the OLED on there. Actually, I probably should add that piece. And then I'll finish this out. And that's now one spool. And then I can merge these two together, grab those two, and then go back to BIM Pro and use the merge spools. Pick, you know, the lower one there, 03, and that's merged that into one. Okay, there's a lot of that little stuff around here. So you can see some of these that are not being color coded. That's where this the color comes in, where I can say show spooled, and what it's going to do, it's going to show me what's been spooled in this view and what has not. What's in blue's been spooled, what has not is in red, right? So it gives me a really good look at this, you know, very easily, and I can strip the colors here to remove those colors. And then if I want to put the spool colors back, I go back to spool or color spools. And this is newer, right, where I can go and override transparencies, You can click on the color swatch to adjust colors if you don't want to use those. Color lines, that really bleeds the colors into each other, so it doesn't look very good with color lines in there, but the surfaces look great. I just click on OK, and there they go. Right now I've got those respooled. Okay. All right. Now, so that's spooling our pipe and duct, and let's go ahead and look at a little bit of the pipe in our manager here. Again, I can assign all these to a package here, so I'll select on all of them. I'll go into my drop down list, and so notice how I have two different packages, one for chilled water return and one for supply. I also want to do some naming in here, and if I select them all and say chilled water supply, they're all going to change to chilled water supply, right? That's not necessarily going to work. So what you could technically do here is I could spool these separately, right? So I'm going to do that real quick. So I'll go back and break them up. "45 spools," and then I'll go back and do my auto pipe spool again. This time I'm going to do one service at a time, and I'll just go ahead and accept. So I'll do my return first. It's 167 items, not 167 spools. I think it was like 45 spools. There we go. And now when I go to my manager here, oops, let me fix that one real quick. Pick the two, click on create spools. That kind of, again, gets that done quickly. Now I can go back in and go to my manager, and I will do this one at a time. So I can pick on these here. I'll do my renaming first. I need a separator here, right? So I'm going to do chilled water return -01. I don't need the 3 characters there. Finish it out. And I could also assign these now to the return package. Excuse me. And now I'll do the rest. So I'll do the supply. And if there's certain criteria that you need to choose, turn off and on, when you create the view, you want to turn things off that you're not spooling, maybe inline stuff, families. You can spool families. I'll show you that setting here in a second. But you could use the select all alike under the data tools to set up a rule to choose, what you want to spool and what you don't, like I did with the round duct, and then isolate that view and then run your spools, very easily. So now that I got those done, again, I'll go back to my manager here, my spool manager, and I'll pick on 1 through 23. All right, I'll add these to the chilled water supply package. Come on, supply. There we go. And then I'll fix the naming conventions as well. Put a dash in there, delete that out, finish it, and now I've been updated, right? And then I can go ahead and build all these, right? I just hit the build button. Now you still need to go in there and make some slight changes, some slight tweaks to this, make some modifications to the actual spools and some of the sheets. They're not all going to be perfect, but it's going to really save you a lot of time and effort in the long run. So I'll save and run. This may take a little bit because, again, it's pushing all those spools, right? I think there was 28, 23 on the supply side. There we go, 22. generating spools is what takes the most, right, effort. When you're producing them, of course, we all know it takes a minute to do 50, 100, 200, 300 spools per project. If you're doing this like I am, by level, by section, it may be a little bit more palatable. But once these are created, I forgot to go over the actual settings for naming conventions, so you can kind of see this here too. But I did the numbering after the fact, right? Fix the numbers in the spool manager, which is okay because there's tools for that. But you could also set this up ahead of time to meet your company standards as well.
Hey Gabe, I just wanted to
Yes, ma'am.
take a minute to say that we have 10 minutes left. So if anyone's have question, please feel free to drop them in the chat because we will have a Q&A at the end. So yeah, just wanted to remind
Perfect.
everyone.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're
Like I said,
welcome.
I'd be rambling on for hours if I could. Uh,
I know.
all right. All right. So again, once I've generated those 22 spools, right, they're all my sheets. I can go to each individual sheet to confirm, right? I could also take this out and maybe not having to pick all those icons, right? I can then export these sheets out here. I'll do the export and I'll just put this on my desktop for now. I'll create a new folder and I'm just going to call this PDFs. I'll select that folder and I'll export these out to PDF, and you'll see here in this directory, you'll see them start to populate in here. Make sure I got that done. Yeah, there they go. So you'll see how you can produce these out pretty quickly. It will produce all 22. Give it a second. It's quite a few. There we go. And then not just the sheets, and you can see how the PDF icon has been produced to show you that these have been created. You have your PDF path, but I could also go to export these out to MAJ. So if I need to take these all to the shop, I'll create a new folder here, call it MAJs, little s, and export those out to the MAJ format. And let's take a look. There they go. Those are pretty quick, right? So I can export those out in two different methods, PDF method or the MAJ once they've been created. Okay. All right. So again, here's where you have your, these other options that now they're all available, right? Everything's kind of lit up now because we've created PDFs. I can rebuild them, re-annotate. I can export. I can isolate some of these in the project if I need to. I can upload these to the Fab or to the shop, Fab Pro, and I can export, which I just showed you. And then I've also we're not showing the Fab component today, but if you guys are interested in that, let us know. And we have Justin who should be able to allow us to do that because he's the main guy for Fab Pro, so we can get him involved in our next webinar to show this part of it, taking it from the spools to the shop, right? That should be next. But that's where the Fab data comes in. Once it's been manipulated within the Fab component, it can be brought back into the spools as well. So I'll close this out. And then finally, to wrap all this up, right? I got about a minute left here. I will show you guys the spool maps, right? So I can go in here. And again, this is where you want to isolate your view or your spools here. Also, I've got a lot of little spools here that I might want to combine, into one, like maybe merge these two together, fix things before doing this. So you're going to see it. I'm just going to do the one, but you can merge these together so you don't have all these additional spools extra ones that you don't necessarily need, depending on how you want to spool your project, right? But like these here needed to be merged. All this stuff here probably should be merged. All these individual spools, right? So the reason why I'm showing you that, just to get a better spool map here. But when I go to the spool map option, now this one is you got to be careful with, because if you're in a view that has everything in it, this can take a while, right? So look at our options here. So there are 44 spools in the current view. There are 116 spools in the entire project. And then it says here, would you like to select all spools in the current view, which is why I isolated this view with the pipes. I can select all spools in the entire model, but again, the warning, this may take a long time, right? And then select no spools and cancel the process. I'm just going to go ahead and do what's in the current view, which is, again, what you best practice. And then it takes, selection again. If I wanted to just do one of these at a time, which would probably look nicer, I'll do them both and then I'll do one at a time. But so I'm going to do the return and the supply here. And then you got to give it a name, right? So I'm going to say my prefab package 01. And then you have the title block to choose from. Again, when you install MSUITEs and you load in the MSUITEs families, you have all these title blocks to choose from. And there's one in there specifically for the spool map sheet. And then I have the two options for two different views. I'm going to do just the single view, which is a single isometric. You can assign a view template as well. If I wanted to add an isometric and a floor plan view, maybe because I have a background, I can do add second view here, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and just say create with the single view. It's pretty quick, but it gives you a pretty neat sheet here that has it all color coded and a legend. So here's the spool sheets, right? Spool map. So I've got all my spools tagged there, and I've got my legend up here that has color coded, for each of the spools. So you can kind of combine those. So again, let me undo this real quick. I'm going to undo and I'll go back. Let's save, always save, never say cancel there. Sometimes I do when I'm in a rush, right? I'm sure everybody does, but best practice is always to save when prompted. So I'll go back again to the spool map up here. I'll accept what's in my view, and I'll just do one of these at a time. So I'll say prefab package return 01, right? So I'm going to do the return first. It's a little bit, easier to see, right? A little bit more, again, consumable. And then I'll go back and do the next one for the supply. Oops, I'm in the wrong view. You have to be in the right view, right? And then do that. It'll warn you. There we go. Supply, and then prefab package, supply 01, create. And there you go. Now I've got my spools. Again, you can use whatever custom tags you may want. Maybe not put leaders. Maybe put the bubble tags, that are inline. But you still, again, may need to make some adjustments here. But now I've got that printed out. Also, there's some settings like for the title lines and stuff. So with the title is going to show up down here with that package information. So that's why I called it, prefab package supply and return. Got those here, right? It updates both of them. And now I can produce those spool maps. Okay. All right. I think that is all. Once you're done, and I'll just kind of show this. I think I showed this to you already with the pipes here, but I'll just disassemble some of this stuff again for the last thing here. But again, with the coloring, right? I can go in here and show what's spooled and what hasn't been spooled, and it's pretty obvious. You can see with the colors here. The only thing that I'll need to do is strip the colors to get that back, and then apply the colors back. I can do color by service this time. You see, there's only 2 services here. Those colors are horrible, but I'll pick a color here, and then just say okay. If I wanted to color code it, yeah, didn't like that. I think it was on that color spools, because they're all assemblies. There we go. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and take some questions if there are any, and if not, again, hopefully on the next session we can kind of take this to the next level and go through fabrication or the shop.
Well, I don't see any questions in the live chat, so I think we can wrap this webinar.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Gabe, for sharing your expertise with us. That was incredibly insightful. And thank you to all of the attendees for spending a part of your day with us. We hope you found the session valuable and walk away with practical strategy to improve your workflows. And on behalf of Graitec, thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on a future webinar. Have a great day, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.